Hi, my name is Daniel Gallen, and I'm the Diamondback's Terrapins men's basketball columnist, and I'm here with Aaron Kastnetz, Terps men's basketball beat writer. The Terps host Florida State tomorrow at 3 o'clock at Comcast Center, coming off a 12-point loss at North Carolina on Tuesday. Now, Aaron, you were in Chapel Hill on Tuesday night. You saw them come back from that early deficit. What's your biggest takeaway from that game entering tomorrow?
There's a lot of takeaways from the North Carolina game, but I think the number one thing is that this team really has grown up. We saw them a lot earlier in the season. They had back-to-back 20-point losses on the road where they would, find a deficit, they'd dig themselves into a hole, and then they'd just crumple. But they didn't do that against UNC, playing against a really good team. They outplayed them for stretches, and they hung right with them for the last 37 minutes of the game. So I think that the biggest takeaway is that, yes, the Terps did grow up and they did mature, but as you mentioned in a column earlier this week, it's too late for that. This team really needs wins, so definitely a positive sign, but at this point in the season, it's not really the time for positive signs. What did you think? I know you were watching.
I mean, honestly, I didn't really expect them to mount that sort of comeback. When it was 19-3, it was kind of like, maybe we can turn this off, maybe we can start doing something else. But, they cut it to 3, then kind of like, I think it was that run at the end of the first half where North Carolina just kind of separated.
Back out.
Even though it got back to 6, it was just sort of like, I feel like that spot the first half when it had a 3. That was the critical juncture. But now with Florida State, you mentioned how the Terps would kind of crumple and then it would just get out of hand earlier this year. Now, Florida State was one of those games back in January when it just sort of ballooned. It just got way out of hand down there in Tallahassee. What do you think needs to be different? What can the Terps do? Or do you think it's just a question of Florida State not hitting every single three-pointer they try to take?
Right, well, remember, Florida State shot 67% from three-point range in that game. They really came out. They were shooting it. Ian Miller, some other guys were shooting it. Coach Mark Turgeon said, that's a little bit unusual. But at the same time, the Terps did have some defensive breakdowns. You could see it on film. I think Roddy Peters lost a guy one time. Des Wells didn't get his hand up. Just small stuff like that. I think the Terps have gotten a lot better defensively since that game. I think you've seen it pretty clearly in these last couple of weeks. You saw it in UNC where, North Carolina's fast-paced, but they're able to handle it pretty well. So I think the big thing is getting better on defense, and then maybe we'll see a change. Also, Maryland's a better team at home, so I think that helps.
Now, a key point, as the Terps go forward, will be guard Des Wells. It sort of seems like as he goes, the Terps go. He had the big shot against Miami, then had a great game against Virginia Tech coming off the bench. So what do you think we need to see out of him tomorrow for the Terps to get a win?
Right. Maryland really does go as Des Wells goes. We saw it, I think, against Notre Dame when he scored a bunch of second-half points. We saw it against Virginia Tech. We've seen it all year long. And we saw it, of course, against Miami when he scored 21 second-half points and hit the game winner. Maryland really doesn't have another guy like that they can just rely on to get points. Seth Allen can break you off the dribble a little bit. But the thing with Dez is finding consistency. Yeah, he played pretty well against North Carolina and Chapel Hill the other day, but he also had 7 turnovers. And those turnovers really came back to haunt the Terps at times. So with Dez, it's kind of hit or miss. He's super efficient. He gets a lot of points on very few shots. He does a great job getting to the lane, but he's got to take care of the ball because if the Terps are giving up turnovers, other teams are getting buckets on the other end, and that's when they start to crumble.
Aaron and I will be at Comcast Center tomorrow. The tip is at 3 p.m. You can follow us on the Twitter. Aaron is at Aaron Kaz Reports. I am at Daniel JT Gallen. And be sure to follow at DBK Sports for all Diamondback sports news, and follow at the DBK as well. We're closing in on 10,000 followers. Thanks. See you next week.